The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you May 28th, 2023. On a, again, rare, but not so rare these days, Sunday afternoon here in South Florida. How you guys doing? It is summertime here for my kids, so they're going to be home for the next 8 to 10 weeks. But, you know, they're getting older, so I'm getting more time, opportunities to record these shows and stuff, especially on times we're home, which is good. So maybe I'll be able to do this on a regular basis even during the summer. We'll see what happens there. But we got a lot to get to. This is going to wait till tomorrow, Tuesday, whatever. It's going to wait. That's what to talk about. These East Conference Finals now. We're going to Game 7. I'll get to my thoughts on that in a second. Scottie Pippen back on his bullshit again. We'll get to that as well. You got Netflix also changing their rules officially, their password rules officially. I'll break that down here on the show. We also had Night of Champions, WWE Premium Night event that came on yesterday. I actually watched that today because I was at work all day long, so I was able to watch it in real time. Great event, of course. I'll break down some of my takeaways from that show. And then I actually found a Republican that I would actually support in 2024. Should this person actually enter the race, though? And I'll tell you my thoughts on that guy or female. We'll see in just a second. But first, I know I sound kind of uppity. I sound kind of excited. I really am not. I'm heartbroken. And we may have a miracle take place. No team in history of the league has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series. No team in NBA history. And yet we are on the verge of seeing that happen against my Miami Heat, who lose Game 6 in heartbreaking fashion last night at the buzzer. A Derek White tap-in at the buzzer. 104-103. Heartbroken doesn't even begin to explain how I feel, how I felt last night, how I feel this morning. I mean, my wife was apoplectic herself watching the game with me. I was just heartbroken. I was down. I was exhausted. I don't know how I can go to a Game 7 now. Because I said this before Game 6. If the Heat lost Game 6, there's no way in hell they're going to take Game 7 on the road. And not only did they lose Game 6, they lose in the worst way imaginable. You know, I still don't have words for it. I really don't. And I've seen my share of heartbreaks through the years with the Heat, with other sports teams I root for. You know, let's start here first with the Heat. And let's clear our minds. Now I had a little bit of time to remove myself from last night's game. It's now close to 1 o'clock in the afternoon here now on Sunday. I've been able to gather some thoughts since then. And I have a lot of thoughts about this team moving forward, whether or not they lose tomorrow, or they lose in the finals, or they win the finals. I have a lot of thoughts about how the season how the Heat should proceed moving forward. We'll get to that when the season's over. But now that I have some time to gather my thoughts, this is what I'm going to say. The Heat did not deserve to win that game last night. The Heat, repeat, did not deserve to win last night. They shot 35% from the field, 25.5% from the field, 16 from 52 in the paint. And worst off, your two biggest stars, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, were combined 9 for 37 last night. Yet, they were literally a tap-in from clinching their 7th berth to the NBA Finals. Imagine that. And again, if you're a Celtics fan, this is what's frustrating about this team. Because this team is arguably the best or deepest team in the league. Arguably, I say arguably because Denver's there and Milwaukee has a conversation as well too, and a couple of teams there. But Boston has one of the best rosters in basketball. What I've been saying for the last couple of weeks on this podcast about, for example, Jason Tatum, who actually had a great first half, disappeared in the second half. that Jason Tatum should be a top 5 player. I recognize him as top 5 talent in the league, but I can't quite put him there yet because of moments like this. And you see why. Boston tried once again to give the game to Miami. Once again. This game actually sort of mirrored, especially the ending last night, sort of mirrored Game 7's loss last year in East Conference Finals to Boston. The only reason now is that there's actually an extra game to play here, Game 7, but I mean, it kind of feels like the writing's on the wall at this point. And honestly, I can't see Boston in Game 7, which means now not only will you lose the series in the fashion you lost Game 6, you also will become the first team in NBA history to blow away a 3-0 lead in the series, only to lose it all. Now, to be clear, and let's be real about this, perspective, folks, especially people who are Heat fans that have gotten to this run and been buying into this team the last 6 weeks. Boston, and by the way, I even said this when we were up 3-0. Boston is the better team. They have the better roster. And I always said that Boston has the capability to come back in this series. Now, I use the numbers to say, well, Miami can get one more win next 4 games. They can end this series, and that didn't happen clearly. This is one of the worst losses I've ever experienced. We're talking about, as a Heat fan, this is worse than last year's Game 7 loss to Boston. This is worse than losing to Dallas in 2011 with LeBron absolutely short-circuiting that series. This is worse than the sweep to Chicago in 2007 after winning the title in 2006. The only loss I can think of comparably as a Heat fan in my 34 years of being a fan of this team is the Allen Houston loss in 1998 in the first round series against New York to tap in. And yes, that series actually ended the season for the Heat. That was Game 5 back then when the first round was only 5 games. And I cried. 18-year-old me cried after that game in 1998. This feels worse. And I say that knowing we have another game tomorrow night at Boston Garden. I've had my share of heartbreaking losses, in my lifetime. I mean, first off, I'm a Mets fan in baseball. So that comes with the territory. 2006 NLC, yes. Last year's flame out in the playoffs against San Diego, which is bad because considering how the season ended. The meltdowns in 2007. I've had quite a few, bad ones in my lifetime. The ones that stick out to me is obviously this one is going to stick in my craw, especially the Heat don't close up the deal in Game 7 tomorrow night. Just the Giants, New York Giants losses. The one that killed me was the 2002 wildcard game against San Francisco when Giants were out 38-14 late in the third quarter. Niners come back, win that game, 39-38. So bad that I refused to watch the rest of the playoffs that year. It was so bad I missed the entire playoffs after that, including the Super Bowl. Because I was that depressed in 2002. But this one's definitely a top 3. And the only way it can be knocked out, the only way it can be diminished, the only way that I can get over it is if Miami wins Game 7 tomorrow night and do something that I don't think they're going to do. Very unfortunate. But they didn't deserve to win the game. Bam Adebayo, he was horrible. Jimmy Butler, horrible game till late in the fourth quarter. And even then, you can't ask the role players playing better. Kalen Martin showed up, double-double last night. Doug Robinson, another really, really good game. The role players showed up. Gabe Vincent, back from injury, had a really solid game. You also give credit to the Boston defense, too, also. I know we sit there and talk about, the things that Miami didn't do. How about the things that Boston did do? And by the way, let's do this real quick also as well. So credit's due also. Joe Mazzulla, 5 days ago, this guy was on the hot seat. About to get fired. Joe Mazzulla has helped turn this series around. Joe Mazzulla's coaching has improved drastically the last 3 games. He has made the adjustments. He has called timeouts when needed to. So if we're going to talk about what the Heat cannot do or hasn't done in the last 3 games. We can also give credit to the Boston Celtics, who I can't stand, of course, by respect. We also give credit to the Boston Celtics for the things they're doing defensively, turning up the heat defensively. Tatum playing better, although the fourth quarter last night was, I don't know what happened there. And Derek White, this guy arguably was the guy that swung their season last year when they got him late in the year from San Antonio and got to the finals last year. Derek White, a great 3-and-D guy. So Boston's doing a lot of things right here the last couple games. I just don't see Boston losing on Game 7. I know Eric Spoelstra said that they're going to go out there and they're going to win. They're going to go out there and give their all. I know there's some bravado there. I know Jimmy Butler, once again, another guarantee. Who cares anymore? Enough of the guarantees to get the job done. Certain things that Spoelstra, too, coaching-wise, I have questions. I'm not gonna question Eric Spoelstra, who I consider the best coach in basketball today. I'm not gonna question him on everything he does, but yeah, this is a hard one to swallow. And you have now a heartbreak that's now turned into a possible miracle now. A heartbreak for the Heat in Game 6, to where now the Celtics now can win tomorrow night and pull the miracle, and pull something that was never possible. Come back from 3-0 deficit to win a series. I mean, this has been a great ride for the Heat, a great ride. Let's have perspective here, okay? But the Heat were not the better team. They were 8 seed for a reason, okay? This team was literally 3 minutes from missing the playoffs entirely against the Chicago Bulls. Let's be clear. Let's have perspective. You can be disappointed about what happened here and how they played the last couple of games, but the fact that he are in this position here to go to the finals, granted, it wasn't the position you thought they'd be at, 3-0 to 3-3. But look, Miami's won 2 games already in Boston this series. They won 2 last year in the playoffs as well. I mean, the emotion in this series certainly is not going to favor them. I'm not picking them to win tomorrow night. Vegas has them as an 8.5-point underdog, I believe. If I can check that real quick. But I saw the line last night after the game. I don't know if it's adjusted since then. But according to the line for tomorrow, 8.5 points. It went down to 7.5 now. So some Miami money coming in last minute. So 7-point favorites now for the Celtics tomorrow night to clinch their second straight year berth into the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets, which will start Thursday, June 1st. Hope for the best, but expecting the worst. It's that simple. So, Game 7 tomorrow night. TNT, of course, 8:30. You know, I said that to my wife yesterday, I haven't watched the game because I can't take it anymore. But you know damn well I'm going to watch the damn game. Come on now. I mean, I'm a diehard Heat fan to the end. 34 damn years. Ain't going to stop now. And again, once we get to whatever the year ends, I would like to share about the Heat and their offseason and how they should attack it. But, man, heartbreak and loss last night. So, all right, let's pivot to Scottie Pippen, who is back on his bullshit. Scottie Pippen, I don't know what he was doing. It was an IG post or whatever it be. Scottie Pippen weighed in on something. Has been doing LeBron James and his stats, and he's the stat king and this and that, and comparing Jordan to LeBron, and obviously Pippen, 6-time champion, Hall of Famer, one of the, if not the greatest wing defender in the history of basketball. Had a lot to say about LeBron, but even more to say about Michael Jordan. Here's what I'd say real quick. I'll play the audio, and then we'll weigh in from there.
LeBron will be the greatest statistical guy to ever play the game of basketball. And there's no comparison to him. None. So, does that make him the greatest player to ever play the game? I'll leave that out for debating because I don't believe that there's a great player because our game is a team game and one player can't do it. Like, I seen Michael Jordan play before I came to play with the Bulls. You guys seen him play. He's a horrible player. He was horrible to play with. He was all one-on-one. He's shooting bad shots. And all of a sudden, we become a team and we start winning. Everybody forgot who he was.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. Let me start here real quick with Pippen. And I might shock some of you guys when I say what I'm going to say here. He's not wrong when he's talking about the team aspect of stuff in terms of pre-Pippen and Grant, and then, of course, Robin later in the years, Jordan's first couple years in the league when he had no one. He's not wrong that once they had a team concept, which Phil Jackson forced, actually, that he got better. He's not wrong about that. He's also not wrong about LeBron in terms of stats. The greatest statistician, stat maker, we're going to call it, in history of basketball. He's rated all-time leading scorer. He's top 5 in assists and moving up. LeBron's going to have every, if not every record, close to every record, a man's win the league when it's all said and done. Unless he retires, of course, but I don't see that happening. But here's where Pippen always gets it wrong, because every couple of years, this happens with Pippen. He weighs in on the LeBron Jordan argument. It's now, 10, 12 years running now? I've covered this podcast many times over in the 12 years of this podcast. Like everything else he does, he embellishes it for shock value. Just like he did in his book recently. I think 2 years ago, his book came out. Same thing. He embellishes it. And not only that, he takes both sides of the argument, depending on how he feels. Depends on how he wakes up. I remember back in 2011, before LeBron even got his first ring, and he was on First Take, or I think he was calling on some show, I don't know what it would be. He had said that LeBron was the best player of all time, or better than Jordan. And this is before LeBron got his first ring. And then a couple years later, he goes back to the Jordan argument. Then goes back to LeBron in 2015. And then remember, in recent years, it's been Jordan again. But now, since the Last Dance came out 3 years ago during COVID, he's now anti-Jordan again. Folks, Scottie Pippen is a bitter person. He's a bitter person. Okay? And look, there's a lot of reasons why that is. And a lot of players who have issues with Jordan, personally. And I get that. But you got to separate the two, of course. First off, his ex-wife, Larsa, which has been a publicly known divorce for a couple of years now, Larsa and Scottie Pippen divorce. She's now dating Michael Jordan's son, Marcus. So no offense, I would feel some type of way too, to some degree. So Pippen, in some ways, has kind of a right to be resentful. And I get it. And I will say one thing too also about Pippen. His argument, whether you agree or disagree, and I know most disagree with what he's saying, the reason it has, quote unquote, some weight is because unlike anybody else giving an opinion about things, he actually went to war with Jordan. He actually won those titles with Jordan. And the thing is, too, also with Pippen, and this is what frustrates me, too, with him, is that now people, as a result, and this is because of the black and white league we have now, not just the color, but in terms of those people's perception of things, and then is yes or no, either or, they now are going to diminish Pippen now because they knock in their guy, Jordan. And we got to try to avoid that, too, because I don't, especially want to diminish Pippen, I don't want to diminish Pippen to elevate Jordan, because there is some truth to the fact that he doesn't get enough credit for the work he did with those Bulls teams. Yes, he was definitely the second best player, but here's what's fact about that too: Jordan did not win without Pippen. End discussion. Jordan did not win without Scottie. And how he may feel about the argument that Jordan needed Scottie, the fact of the matter is, the numbers are out there. When Jordan had Pippen, they won 6 titles. How many titles did Jordan win without Pippen? None. And for the record, I'm Jordan GOAT. I'm the Jordan number 1 all time argument. But I'm not going to do that and diminish Scottie Pippen. If you watch those series against the Lakers in the first finals, the series against the Blazers in the second finals, the series against the Suns in the third finals, the series against the Jazz in the last 2 finals, Pippen's defense tilted those series. Ask Magic Johnson in the first finals. They put Pippen and Magic Johnson and slowed him down. Yes, Jordan gets all the credit because it's Jordan and he, average 3 points a game and all this stuff, and well deserved. Finals MVP. We get all that, and it makes sense. And I'm not even knocking that. But Scottie Pippen and the things that he brought to the table added just as much effectiveness to the Bulls' 6 titles as what Jordan did as well. Without Pippen, Jordan's winning any titles? Probably not. Maybe he gets a title or 2. Who knows? Depending on who he gets as a sidekick. But the fact of the matter is this, though. Scottie Pippen was absolutely incredible. Not so much numbers-wise. You can't see numbers, but defensively. Slowing down Magic Johnson in the first finals. Slowing down Kevin Johnson in the third finals. Slowing down Clyde Drexler in moments as well, too, in the second finals. Slowing down John Stockton in the 2 Jazz finals. So, yes, is Pippen nuts in the head? Absolutely. Both of them right here. He's nuts. But I am not going to diminish his impact on the team. And I think a lot of what Pippen feels about that is the fact that Jordan gets all the credit, which he deserves the credit, most of the credit for it because it's Jordan, of course, but he gets none. That Pippen was just another role player. Pippen was not just another role player. This is arguably the greatest 1-2 tandem in history of basketball. People say Shaq and Kobe. People say Magic and Worthy. Wade and LeBron. Whatever. Steph and Clay. Whatever. I would argue Pippen and Jordan is the most dominant because at least in that situation there was a clear-cut 1 and 2. And what those guys brought to the table, they did well to excellence, especially on both sides of the ball, especially on defense. So all I'm saying is let's try to do this with not – we can say Pippen is nuts with what he said, but also not diminish him either in the process. That's all I'm trying to say here. All right. Shift things up a little bit here. Let's get to let's go on Netflix quick. Netflix officially launched in the U.S. Hold on a second. I get some iced tea. My throat is a little dry. Iced tea is the best. Honestly, iced tea is the best, by the way, for the record. Especially when I'm doing podcasting. No, I said it before in the pod before. But it bears repeating. It's amazing. Netflix has now officially instituted their cracking down their password sharing plan. Here's the breakdown here for how you handle Netflix and their password sharing now officially. It's now hit the U.S. as last week. In fact, my mother, I actually share account with my mom. My mom, I use her account. So far, I'm okay, but I get the feeling we have issues going forward. So here's the breakdown of their standards now and their new rules. Netflix says an account can only be used by members of one physical household sharing one internet connection. Additional members logging from elsewhere can be added for $7.99 a month. The restrictions appear to only apply to televisions and not mobile devices for now. Once you are successfully logged into a smartphone or tablet, you should be able to stream on it from anywhere. You can still travel without issues for up to a month. People will need to connect at the primary location once every 31 days to avoid being logged out of the account. If you're moving or plan on being away for more than 31 days, you can change your household location. It doesn't matter what tier you pay for or your reasons for being away from the primary address. The company does not have any exceptions for more unusual cases like deployed members of the military. Netflix is mostly using IP addresses to determine where people are logging in from, but it also uses device IDs and account activity. It infers which location is your home base, but you can manually set your household location from Netflix on a TV by going to Get Help under sections, Netflix, manage Netflix household. You can only add extra members to the more expensive standard and premium plans, and the number of additional members is limited. 1 extra on standard, 2 members on premium. There are no penalties for sharing, no Netflix police going door to door. People streaming from secondary locations will just be logged out. Now, this is very risky for Netflix because here's the thing no one's talking about here with Netflix. And look, and I get why they're doing what they're doing. I'm a capitalist. I totally get it. This is definitely a risk for them, though. This is definitely a risk for them in alienating subscribers, but it's also understandable as a business to create stringent rules to protect their business. I totally agree with that. Again, I'm a capitalist. I totally get it. But here's the flip side of that, too. As customers, we have choices as well. Okay? That's the win for us ultimately. I've been saying for years that the real win of streaming is not about the money anymore. It's about the choices you have now to choose. When you get cable, you pay for channels that you may not even want. At least with Netflix, and HBO, and Peacock, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you have choices to make. You make choices what to have. So, that being said, here's the risk that they're going to have here, and I'm going to give it from my standard. I personally rarely use Netflix anymore. I haven't had a need to watch Netflix in a long time. Most of the stuff I watch on streaming is either through Peacock, which of course is WWE, which I'll get to in a second. There's also I use a lot more HBO Max, which is now Max, of course. I use other platforms. Not saying Netflix is not good enough. It's just I have so many choices. And if Netflix now is going to become more stringent on these plans now, people like myself are going to say, well, gee, since you're making it hard for me to do this, and you're forcing me to make a choice on what to choose, I'm going to choose, personally, Max or Peacock or anything else before Netflix. Mainly because I don't see any material on Netflix right now that I'm currently surveying on the menu that makes me want to watch it and pay $20 a month for at this time. So there's an inherent risk with Netflix at this point, too, to do what they're doing. Again, I totally get what they're doing. I totally get it. But there's an inherent risk for them. And I wonder if, at some point, if they see numbers drop, and their subscriber numbers continue to drop, as it has been for the last year now, you've seen top of record numbers, especially since post-COVID, post-pandemic, if they may readjust their stances on things. They're in trouble, regardless. They got ahead of the game years ago, and now that all these streaming devices and these companies are starting to hold on to their content, they're getting less and less distribution on there. So you're paying more money on Netflix for less content, or in some cases, less productive content, for that matter. So something to watch out for in the coming weeks. I know in my case, I share my mom. I use her. So what we do, like, she uses my Max and she uses my Hulu and all that stuff, and then in return, I use her Paramount Plus. I use her Netflix. But if it's gonna be harder, I don't think they'll be me as a customer anymore, at least for a little while. I'm just saying. So, anyway, let's discuss WWE Night of Champions, which took place yesterday in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I'll tell you what, these Saudi Arabian shows are really cool now. And, you know, when I came into watching wrestling, WWE back in 4 years, 2019, and I realized, at least then, that these Saudi Arabian shows felt like more over-glorified house shows. That they're doing it because the Saudis are paying a premium for access for these shows to come down to Saudi Arabia. But in recent years, I've noticed that these matches and stuff do matter, and they actually tend to get payoffs. Storylines get paid off as though these are regular pay-per-views. And they're starting to become treated that way now in the last year. And I love it. I really do love it. So I run a couple takeaways from yesterday. Although I did watch the show today. I watched the show today because yesterday I was at work, and then I came home and I watched like maybe one match, and then I had to watch the Heat game last night, of course, that destroyed my night. But a couple of takeaways I have here. Number one, you got Seth Rollins, who won the, do we call it inaugural World Heavyweight Championship, or dusted off? Because they just brought it back recently, the World Heavyweight Championship. They did the tournament. He beat AJ Styles last night. Seth Rollins, to me, I remember last year I did a podcast on this, a seminar on this last year. It might have been with our friend Matthew Muleisen on the show. I think it might have been both, a solo and a guest. And I said that Seth Rollins has an argument to be top 25 all time, WWE superstar all time. I'm going to change my position on that now. I think he is officially a top 20 guy all time. This guy's one of the best workers in history of the business. This guy is been consistent. He may not be a tippy-top guy. Certainly he shouldn't be a tippy-top guy. I mean, I know there's moments he had that. He was a tippy-top guy and didn't really work as much. But he's one of he's tier 1 star. And he's pretty much been tier 1 star in his company probably since 2012, 2013, since The Shield came in 2012. And this run here with Seth, with the Seth freaking Rollins and the costumes and all that stuff is easily his best run of his entire career here in WWE. He is, in my opinion, now officially a top 20 guy all time. Okay? By the way, great match against AJ Styles, but no one's surprised by that. So there's that. What else do I have here? Bianca Belair finally loses the Raw Women's Championship last night to Asuka after holding the belt for well over a year. It's the right move. I love Bianca, my favorite people in the company, but she's gotten stale. I've been saying that for a while now, and you need to either turn her heel, reheat her again, put her in chase mode, which is always, there's a lot of value in that, of course. She needs to be reheated. And look, maybe she gets a title back at SummerSlam or down beyond, but this run has gotten kind of stale, unfortunately for her. So I think this was the right booking move, honestly, in hindsight. I didn't want it to happen because I want Bianca to win the whole title, but I think people are getting bored by it now. So I know if you turn her heel at some point, if you have a chase mode, she's certainly better than mid-card. She's certainly not, shouldn't be in the mid-card. She matters. She's arguably the best athlete, the best women's wrestler on the roster, arguably. I think people say Charlotte Flair maybe is in the conversation, or Becky, whatever it may be, or Bayley. But Bianca's in that top four, top three. I say she's the best of all, but that's just my opinion. What else here? Gunther, of course, retained his IC title. No surprise, it's Ali. Gunther, right now, probably after Seth Rollins, because he has the longer, sample of work, might be the best worker in the company. And he works with anybody. He works with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and does, tough, bulky, big bitty men that meat matches. And then he can still work with a guy like Ali who's a high flyer and still make it legitimate. Gunther is, to me, the best worker, not named Seth Rollins, right now in the company. He's fantastic. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch him work. And this guy should be elevated into the world top picture at some point in the next 6 months. He's IC champion right now. I see at some point between now and SummerSlam, maybe Sheamus or maybe Drew McIntyre gets a title from him. And once you take the title off of him, you now elevate him into the world title into the world title picture, whether or not it's against Roman, or whether or not it's against Seth, and all that. But it's time for him to go next level. He's ready. I think he's ready. What else here? Let me see. Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. That match, rubber match. Oh, not rubber match. Second match. Brock won this one. Obviously the storyline now with Cody. He has the broken arm. He still wrestles anyway with a broken arm. My opinion with this, first of all, I love this feud. The feud's amazing. Love the feud. It's been fantastic. They booked it correctly on both sides. Cody was the first one to roll up. Second one, Brock pins, taps Cody out because of the arm. I think the rubber match, because they're going to have one rubber match, a third match. And I think that should be a SummerSlam, not Money in the Bank. I think with the angle of the broken arm for Cody, buys you time to buy a couple weeks, and you don't put the Money in the Bank in July. You make that match a Hell in a Cell match in August at SummerSlam in Detroit. And then from there, Cody probably wins the blow-off feud. Brock goes away, I'm sure, after that, and Cody can be now elevated to the world top picture again. That's how I book the rest of this feud, rest of the summer. It's built in already. You use the arm as a way to buy a few weeks. Cody's out a couple weeks. He comes back, challenges Brock at SummerSlam, and I will say not only that, you challenge SummerSlam, you make that Hell in a Cell match. Make that a Hell in a Cell match. It's a great feud. Great feud. What else here? The Bloodline's crumbling, of course. Falling apart. You saw last night, of course. Jimmy and Jay, came in the match, in time match against KO. It was obviously it was Roman and Solo Sikoa versus KO and Sammy. By the way, Sami Zayn's entrance last night, amazing. That crowd was amazing. You guys know, Sami Zayn is Syrian, I believe. I think it's Syrian. So he's from that region. He speaks Arabic. I'll be honest with you, I teared up. That was one of the greatest entrances I've ever seen in WWE history. I teared up watching that. And then you see the part also, a little off script. The camera was a Roman when he's in the ring and Sammy's getting his love from the crowd and all that. You see Roman smiling, a little bit off script, like a proud father. Then you see Sammy talk Arabic to the crowd, responding to Roman and Paul Heyman after Roman's introduction from Paul Heyman. Sammy deserves it. Sammy deserves it. Absolutely. He's fantastic. But yeah, I turned up during that entrance. Yeah, this Bloodline feud storyline is amazing. So obviously the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, come in the ring at the end of the match to, jump KO and Sammy. Then they go into super kick. I think it was KO or whatever. And then instead KO super kicked accidentally Sol Sikoa, which Roman saw that. Roman comes in the ring and pushes Jey Uso away and tell him that they want anymore. And then all of a sudden Jimmy out of nowhere super kicks Roman. Jey tries to calm him down. Jimmy says, "No, this is us now," and he super kicks Roman again. Roman knocks out Roman, of course, and of course, I think KO pinned Sol Sikoa so Sol ate the pin to get the win for the KO and Sammy. This storyline's amazing. This storyline continues to evolve. It's by far, to me, the best storyline of all time. I mean, you talk about the Mega Power storyline in 88, 89, 87, 89. You talk about Austin and McMahon. There's also other good ones here and there. But this one, the longevity, 3 years in, not bored. It stretches generations. It has other legs to it as well. I also think there's going to be more people involved in this. I think if the Usos are going to be preened away from this bloodline, and if indeed this sticks around, this sticks the way it is, I feel like there's more members of the family of the tribe that get involved that we don't know about yet. Just saying. I can see more members, more people added to the story in the near future. I'm not saying anything's going to happen anytime soon. I'm just saying this is my opinion. Joe Lopez on one of my co-hosts on the Take 3 Wrestling podcast texted us saying in our group chat saying that, the way they make Roman look now as a star, the way the company makes Roman look is, it makes him look like the greatest star in history of the company. Like Hogan, more than Cena, more than Austin. The way they make Roman look, and it's the way they promote him, and the way they made him, his whole aura makes him looks like the greatest superstar in the history of the company. And he's right about that. He's absolutely right about that. And I think what he's doing is amazing because Roman's run 3 years in as a heel. The only guy I remember doing something like this to this kind of impact was Hollywood Hulk Hogan in WCW. And that got stale about 2 years after with the NWO angle. Roman's now 3 years in this thing, and we're still going strong. Just saying. Like, if you want to talk about Roman being in the Mount Rushmore all-time WWE stars, I'm not going to tell you no. I'm not going to tell you it's too early. We might be entering that conversation now. He just celebrated 1,000 days of being champion this yesterday. So, I don't know. Wouldn't be a bad take. Just saying. So, the build-up to Money in the Bank should be fun. The build-up to SummerSlam, especially to later in the summer, should be more fun. So, these next 8 weeks should be really cool. WWE programming has been really, really good. So, I've been really enjoying that, even more than AEW. I know AEW has a pay-per-view tonight, but I'm not watching that. I've lost interest in AEW. Although I do, with the new show coming up, Collision coming up in the next, was it June 16th, I think it is? I'm definitely intrigued by that. We'll see if that can relaunch my love for AEW again. But I've been really soft on AEW last year or so, honestly. I haven't felt the need to watch any of the stuff. I follow it just because I have to follow it because I host a co-host wrestling podcast, but honestly just don't have any interest in watching it right now. So, last thing out here. Last thing. We're 4 minutes in this podcast. And guys, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. I might have actually found a Republican I may consider voting for. Now, look, I'm not a Democrat, for the record. Though I've told you guys I've voted Democrat pretty much the last, like 4 or 5 cycles because the GOP has left me. They've gone far to the right. They've gone more ridiculous. They don't talk policy anymore. You know that. Okay, I'm a liberal bastion. I mean, I have liberal leanings, but I'm a liberal by all means. I always say I'm mostly a fiscal conservative, but a but a very, very social liberal in most cases. But I may have found a Republican I can actually consider voting for. His name, Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire. And he was on The View this past week. Now you're going to say, whoa, what are you watching The View for? Because I like political discussion. And they have good people on the show. I mean, I don't give you all the things they say there, but I happen to run into their conversation with Chris Sununu on the show. He's a good moderate. They ask him tough questions about guns and abortion, and he doesn't believe in a federal ban for abortion, which I'm there as well too. Okay, I'm a pro-choice person. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm pro-choice. He's the same way as well too. He's a little spotty on guns. He thinks that guns. He's a pro-2A guy. I am as well too. But I think the issue on AR-15s and all that stuff, the more meat and the bone stuff, he's still on the fence on the whole thing. But it's okay. It's okay. But a lot of his ideas. I mean, the thing I come from that is that New Hampshire is a very blue state. New Hampshire is a very liberal state. So the fact that a Republican like him can actually get elected in that state, honestly, is a big deal. And it's something I take seriously. Like, even the governor of, I think Duke Bennett, who came on the podcast a couple months ago, said this, that the Republican governor of Massachusetts is actually also, the governor of Massachusetts is a Republican in the most blue state in the country. Sununu believes working together with both sides of the aisle. He's open to talking and discussion. And if you watch him on The View, he makes total sense. And I was very encouraged by this, watching his appearance. Now, my wife, of course, is very skeptical about that because she has lost trust in politicians on both sides of the aisle, but especially the right side. So, but I was very encouraged by what I saw. And there's been rumors about him possibly wanting to run. He's not a Trump guy. He doesn't believe Trump is the answer. He said that he doesn't think Trump will win or should win the nomination. He's been critical of Ron DeSantis, even though they did meet last week on some of his positions on the abortion thing, for example. But Chris Sununu, governor of New Hampshire, is someone I would consider voting for. Look, I'm not saying I'm going to if he runs. I don't know yet. But I like looking at the play field. I mean, the GOP feels filling up now. You have, obviously, Trump's in there. DeSantis declared last week. Tim Scott's in the race now, too. Nikki Haley, of course, in the race as well. Asa Hutchinson's in the race. Who else? Mike Pence is supposed to announce very soon that he's entering the race as well, too. Chris Christie, I think, next week is entering the race as well, too. So the GOP feels starting to open up a lot. A lot of options. I'm not saying I'm going to vote for someone. First of all, I can't vote in primary because I'm not even Republican anyway, so I can't vote in primary. So first off, let's start there. But I am interested to see how this plays out. So, but yeah, Chris Sununu, someone I actually would consider. They'll be having antennas up on that one. So, all right, I'll call it a day there. That'll do it for me on this beautiful Sunday afternoon here in South Florida. I'll be going to my good friend Eric and Samara's friend's baby shower. Cannot wait for that this evening. Looking forward to that. So, I'm on Twitter at EJ Christian 7, Earnestly Podcast, all podcast catchers. Of course, guys, always also, if you can, check out especially the YouTube page at youtube.com/@Earnest Christian. We are building some subscribers there. A lot of clips of the shows here. You can see all the videos of the shows, not necessarily of the solo episodes all the time, although we're hopefully by the end of the summer going to be doing all videos, even on the solo shows going forward. We'll see if we go that route. We'll see. But other than that, we'll talk to you guys later. God bless y'all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk soon. Later.